Welcome to 20 Minutes of Clarity. I'm your host, Jason Noble, and with me today I have Andy, the man merchant. And I'm excited for this conversation because Andy is excited for this. He's been chomping at the bit for us to have this topic for quite a while. We're going to start off with a 4-part series on retirement planning. And the first part of this is really around setting retirement goals. Here at Prime Capital Investment Advisors, we inspire people to achieve their life's ambitions. It is extremely difficult to provide any inspiration to achieving life's ambitions when you have no life's ambitions. Now, now, everyone that's watching and listening right now, I know that you have life's ambitions. You wouldn't be spending your free time listening to Andy and I go into these topics if you had no life's ambitions. I'm talking about those people that you know. Right, that don't have those life's ambitions. But when it comes to retirement planning and setting that retirement goal, if I meet with, let's say, 6 people in a given day, I'm going to hear 6 different answers to this important topic. But I do think, it's important that we have the conversation over why this is such an important topic. And that's why we're kicking the 4-part series off with this topic specifically. So, Andy, when it comes to the importance of setting retirement goals, what comes to your mind and you want to share with us?
Well, Jason, why I said that this was my favorite topic I'm looking forward to is, so much of our content might only hit a part of the audience, right? It's good information to know. We get some excitement out of it, but it might only resonate with a handful of you that are listening or viewing to this right now. Retirement is something that we all are going to do, right? The only thing that's different is how we define what that retirement is. There's people that, retirement might be defined as I just need cash flow independence. I need to make sure I have enough cash flow so that I can spend less time, working. So, but you're still that's your retirement plan, right? The other side could be just, I need financial freedom. I want to be able to do more things and stop building the business as much as that I have and let my team run the business. Some of those might just be, just general. I just want to make sure that I'm okay, that I have enough supplemental income, that all my other benefits are there. So it's a wonderful topic because we're all out planning for this. We all have our own definition. We may even call it something different, maybe not retirement. It could be transition. It could be winding down. So I think this message resonates to everybody. And I think the importance of today's conversation, which is centered around setting retirement goals, that's such an important conversation, because the reality is I think there's many of you out there that are tuning in today. They're like, yeah, I'm gonna do that, right? Maybe it's a New Year's resolution that you're gonna focus on your retirement planning efforts or setting your retirement goals, but then the reality sets in, and what happens? People procrastinate. They go to the kids' soccer games. They get busy with family, planning, spending time with their wives, spending money on vacations, whatever it may be. And guess what happens? They go an entire year, no more planning, no more goals, nothing gets reality. And I probably honestly think you just get depressed with the retirement thing and just say, I'll just wait till the day that I have to make a decision. Mm-hmm. And we want, and as our podcast talks about, right, and what we're trying to do is help simplify and be proactive in decision making. So if you're going to do anything of taking any message from this content that we're sharing is, be proactive, start setting goals, and let's set goals today about what your retirement could look like and how to start building a plan to get there.
Yeah, when I have let's say a new couple that comes in and they share with me that they're looking to retire at, let's say, 60. I love asking questions like, okay, why 60? Why does that number come to mind? What does that perfect retirement look like for you? Paint me that picture. And at first, what I found was, in the first few conversations, that picture is rather fuzzy, right? They're thinking 60 because that would be so many years in the workforce. But then, okay, what does that perfect retirement look like for you in that couple? And I'm generalizing. Very few couples that I ever meet with actually have the same vision for retirement. Mm-hmm. It's very separate, very different. And I'll have one person in a relationship go, "Oh, well, I would love to travel and do and do some of these activities," and the other person's like, "I've already seen the world. I don't want to do that again."
Hmm.
right? And
Yeah.
then it's like, okay, well, okay, that's okay. We'll put a pin in that for now. We'll circle back to that. What about where you want to live? Where would you want to live in throughout your retirement? Do you want to stay here in the Charleston area, or are you looking at moving? What does that look like? And there's times where I've had that question, and one wants to move, and the other one wants to stay, right? But what it's doing, Andy, is it's starting the dialogue. It's
Yep.
starting that conversation. I once read a statistic, and I'm not going to share all the details because I don't have it in front of me, and I just don't do that. But it was like the majority of Americans will spend more time planning their vacation than they will their retirement, and I find that to be fascinating. Even when like my wife and I, Rachel and I, we're celebrating 15 years this year, right? We're pretty excited, and we're gonna
Yeah.
take this trip overseas. And over the weekend, this past weekend, we sat down. We start looking at what do we want to do? What are the things, the activities, and what things do we want to see? What days do we want to take light versus like actually have more things booked for and stuff, right? And it was really refreshing for me to have that conversation with her because we're quite the opposite, as you can imagine. In our family, we're having conversations over finances on a monthly basis, and vacations are happening like maybe twice a year, right?
Hmm.
But so it would just be like an interesting to be a fly in the wall of those individuals, those Americans that are out there that are spending more time talking about their vacations than they are about their financial future. Just want to understand, like, what does that dialogue look like,
Yeah.
and how does that take precedence over what do we want to do within our financial independence? What do we want to do when we have more time, and how do we want to dedicate that time?
Well, yeah, if it's like my household, Jason, my wife's like, it stresses me out to talk about vacation. So she just puts the burden on me. And then she makes the vacation wonderful and then finds out all the reasons why the vacation could go wrong, right? And I'm on their side saying, it's going to be great. We're going to go relax. We're going to have a good time, right? And I love my wife. She's not a pessimist at all on these things. It's just the way we do vacation planning, right? And then it's like we get there and then we're like, yeah, we could do something different and ambitious ideas. But I think I love how you relate this to, one, planning for retirement on your own is hard enough, let alone trying to plan two separate lifestyles, desires, and wants. If I could paint my picture, I think a fun exercise for those listening is have a conversation with your spouse around retirement planning and paint each other's pictures. If you've been married long enough, Jason, I think it'd be fun for you and Rachel to sit down and say, okay, Rich, what is it that Jason's ideal retirement would look like? Right? I'm telling you right now,
It's a really good idea.
if anybody's out there listening doing this, I go to clearpicturefinancial.com. I know there's a way to contact us. Share how that story went, right? We won't air. We'll always protect the innocence, that's that out there, but we'd love to share the story. I think that could be a fun exercise. We obviously have our Facebook, LinkedIn pages that you could also post, but I'm going to try that exercise. I'm going to go home tonight. I'm going to tell the wife, hey, paint my picture of retirement and see what she says. And I'm going to do the same for her. Because here's why I bring that up, right? I want people to paint a picture, right? Because this is how I see retirement. And I know Jason will probably tell a story because I think this topic is all about storytelling, right? There's not a lot of facts that go into retirement plan. Like we could tell you those that save retirement, those that have enough retirement, but that brings everything to the numbers. And the numbers are important, but they're not as important as how do you implement and how do you realize retirement. And so when I was sitting here thinking about our discussion today, I was thinking about the concept and picture this, right? You're going on vacation, you have your suitcase full, you pack all winter clothes, right? Maybe you look better in winter clothes, maybe it's just cold where you are. You jump on your plane, you don't know where you're going yet. You arrive at your destination. That destination is your retirement date in this comparison. And you step off that plane and you're in a beach in Mexico. Now keep in mind you have winter clothes. How comfortable is that retirement going to be? You're not prepared. You're not using the right clothing to enjoy the best experience that you have, right? And too often in retirement planning, the wrong goals are set, right? Your goals don't have to be definite. They don't have to be exact. They just got to be goals, right? You got to be goals. You got to achieve them. And it could be starting with that conversation around the dinner table and trying to understand, is travel going to be in our future? Is it not going to be? Are we going to have to help support family members in retirement? You got to have those real conversations because you don't want to show up on the beach with a bunch of winter clothes unprepared for the environment that you're going to be now embarking. And now you're going to have to do what we always try to caution our clients to do, right? And be reactive to your environment. And reactive is when you start to lose wealth. So I think planning ahead to all the points you mentioned, Jason, whether it's where are we going to stay on a trip? Do we need to have emergency contacts in place? How are we going to make sure that we're not going to overspend on our dining and have enough budget in the itinerary so that when we do get home, our long-term goals are still intact, but we had a really good vacation time. So I just hope those that are listening, maybe when you sit down on your own, picture that. If you arrive off your plane at your retirement destination, is your suitcase packed with the right items?
Mm.
Right?
Well, you talked about being reactive, and I find those that are reactive tend to have a lot more stress as they go into a rather like it could be stressful going into retirement, more psychologically than anything. Going, okay, I've had a paycheck, I've been working at the same place for X amount of years, and now all of a sudden I'm relying on my nest egg. That could be stressful. And so when how I work with my clients, and I know Andy, you have very similar conversations, even though we have never sat in like a meeting. I shouldn't say never. We've sat in meetings together, but then like we've never went through like a life cycle of an entire relationship, right? From like when they first reached out to then like that initial core values meeting, and then to the analysis, and then onboarding, and then throughout that first year. But what I'm getting at is setting a stage of let's have this conversation through those questions that I was asking earlier, so that we could start being more proactive to it. Where I have a harder time is where I have a person that comes in the office. Hey, I saw you on TV, and I decided that I wanted to work with you. However, I'm looking to retire. I'm like, okay, great. So when did you plan to retire? Oh, we put in the paperwork yesterday. We're going to be retiring in 1 week from now. I just need to make sure that I'm a higher use to make sure that I'm going to be okay. Okay, well, I can't be proactive on that. You've already made the decision. Now I got to make sure that your finances are in line so that you could then be able to support the retirement that you have. I got to make sure that you have the right clothes in your luggage when you get to that retirement destination, right?
Yeah.
And there was nothing I could do to help you pre-pack before that journey, before the trip. And so then now I'm going, okay, well, you packed a parka and you're in Hawaii. So we're going to have to make do with this and try to figure out how to we can like start making adjustments. Right. Yeah. And another thing that I think you said so interesting, Andy, is like write each other's vision of that perfect retirement. I think that's a really good idea. I'm going to have Rachel do that as well. But the thing now that if I could guess what she's going to write Jason's never going to retire. Right? It's going to be those things. And because her and I've had this conversation, and where she's right is I just love what I do. I love the work that you and I do together. I love like being able to help people reach their goals and take this off their plate. It's something that I find a lot of enjoyment from. However, what I would also say is there's going to be a time where I can't continue running at the pace that I'm running. There's going to be a time where I'm going to have to dedicate my passion to other things that I'm passionate about. And so how can I reconcile that right now mentally? I'm too busy to. I'm in the thick of it.
Yeah.
Right. But so I get it, right? When I'm asking my client to go, hey, you've been an executive, you've been a professional, you've been running your own law firm for X amount of years. Now I'm going to ask you to start mentally changing into what does that life 2.0 look like? It's not an easy transition, but it's worthy of having that conversation 3, 5, 7 years in advance. So when the time does come, when the plane does land and you get off the plane with your luggage, going back to Andy's metaphor and analogy, you have the right luggage in place. So Andy, I want to talk about some of the horror stories that we see when someone doesn't plan or doesn't have like their goals set up for retirement. One thing that
Yeah.
we're seeing as a country is we're seeing alcoholism rise for retirees.
Hmm.
And there's a number of resources in there going into, like, if you have this issue, you could go get help. I'm always fascinated within the why that is. And we're seeing a lot more layoffs where people are being forced to retire. So they're not retiring with that gold watch and running off to the sunset with a pension. Not anymore, right? But they're getting let go before they're expected to retire, which is unfortunate, but that's reality. And then they're trying to go back into the workforce. However, their income is too high for what other people want, and they're not going to go down that low. And it's just an awful experience all around. And also, people say, like, a vision that I hear often is, I want to travel. Well, you can't travel every single day of every single week of every single month. Same thing with golf.
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah, you could go out and golf by all means. I'm not telling you not to have that as a goal in retirement, but how many days are you going to do that? And how often? And does your spouse enjoy that? There might be a thing where, like, well, there's a reason why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that goes back to that conversation. If you would paint each other's picture, I think you're going to find out. It's like, you go to my household and you ask Ange, you say, what would Andy do in retirement? He would probably say the same answer. He'll never retire, which I think that's pretty active for a lot of very passionate business professionals, right? But she'd also say, but if he wasn't, he'd be playing golf every day doing this. And I can tell you right now, I like the game of golf. I don't like the game of golf every day, right? And I like the game of golf with my kids. I like the game of golf with my friends. But it's not that. So it's like, maybe we could combine a traveling trip that involves that, right? And so I think having that conversation, and I think, the horror stories, Jason, that you asked there too, is the horror stories that I can probably best resonate with or share with everybody out there are those that have people that are always looking over their shoulder, worried if they can retire, if they can stay retired, right? They're always worried about something that's 10 years down the line, but it's impacting their health today. It's impacting their relationships today. They don't spend money on trips because they don't know if they can, right? Just imagine the amount of stress that just goes away if you had two things. One, you had a plan. Even if it's late in your plan, it's never too old. It's never too late, right? You can still fix things. That's what Jason and I do. That's why if you're feeling a little stress in your plan today because you're retired or you're nearing retirement, maybe you didn't have a lot of confidence that your plan was done and your suitcase is packed perfectly. Like, that's what Jason and I and our team do. We help people rearrange the suitcase given the financial experience we have. So if you're your person out there, if you got a little bit of question, you want to be proactive on the other side, go to clearpicturefinancial.com. There's a form on the top. All we're asking for is a 30-minute conversation. If you make it longer, that's on you. But we love to have conversations. We'd love to hear your vision. We would love to hear your story around whether or not you and your spouse, or even on your own, you answered your own question. But let's avoid the horror stories. Let's avoid the worry, because you don't work your whole life just to sit there and worry about the second half of your life. So that's why I love this one. It's all about setting goals and setting expectations. That's kind of my big nugget right now as we land the plane. Staying on the metaphor.
Yeah. Well, it just goes into what is that goal that you have towards the destination that you want to be able to achieve, right? And a big part of the work that Andy and I focus on within our Clear Picture process is to provide you clarity into, do you have the right clothes in your luggage, right? Are you on time to reach your destination? Do you have headwinds that are going to create longer time in air, or you'd be able to land the plane a little bit sooner and the destination is still where you want to be, right? There's a lot of different things there.
You liked that analogy today, didn't you?
Well, I did. And I have a client that's a pilot, and he was like, when we fly over to Germany, that's his route, right? From JFK to Germany. He goes, we're doing constant manual adjustments, tweaks and adjustments here, because if we don't do those adjustments while we're in flight, then we're going to be landing not in Germany. We're going to be landing in, let's say, Austria or something. He was like, so we're constantly making those tweaks and adjustments. And he brought that up to me. He goes, like, because I see you do that within my financial plan. I see you do that with my investments. And I appreciate that, Jason, because it allows me to make sure that I land in Germany where I want to be. And I was like, oh, I love that. So I wanted to bring that forward. Well, that was Andy, the Man Merchant. I'm Jason Noble. You just listened to 20 Minutes of Clarity. Thank you so much. Go to clearpicturefinancial.com. Scroll down, enter in your information, and schedule that conversation. Thank you.
See you later.